benefit could be brought, like to the total population. And in America, you're choosing how fat your wallet is. So in the sense that you have complete right to healthcare, we have it. But when it comes to the practical application of that, you have to make some harsh choices. And you have to use criteria to make those harsh choices, and we choose different ones. We think that ours is fairer because it's based on how much more benefit you can bring to a person rather than how much they individually can afford it. So that sense, that's why. You have the right in the same way that you have here, but you have a different way of enabling that right.
Okay, thank you.
What is technically like the price difference that you would see from paying your own health care as opposed to, let's say, taxes taking it out of, like, just automatically from your plan? So, like, that makes sense because, I mean, at the end of the day, 85-year-old grandfather, like you brought up, it's not necessarily fair, but probably neither one of them, I know I probably couldn't afford $1 million, like $2 million heart transplant right now if I needed it. So, I mean, it comes down to, I guess, in the end, money. So what is the actual difference between what they're paying, I guess?
Question.
The answer is I don't know in terms of the actual dollar cost. But you can probably work it out semi-logically in the sense that taxes have to be raised from the general population. And we don't have as many mega-rich people as you do, right? So you can only pay, let's get this right, you could only pay for what the average person would be able to pay for through their taxes. So the very rich, you know, your lawyers, your investment bankers, they pay through their taxes for 20, 50, 100 people's health care from their taxes. Somebody who is reasonably well off, so in terms of everyone who's working, the average person who's working basically must just pay for the average person's healthcare, see what I mean? And then everybody who's poorer than the average pays in less than they take out. So at least half the people who are paying in, if they just kept that money, assuming both systems were equally efficient, which is probably not true. Everyone who is richer than the average could have afforded their own health care separately. You see what I mean? But then obviously
The same percentage, would you say?
There's an added complication in that we do have private healthcare, but it's not comparable to yours because it works within a system or works alongside a free system. So you're not, because it's available for free in some respect in other places, what you're paying for with your private healthcare, and about 10% of Britons have private health insurance, is you're kind of paying for being at the Hilton rather than, like, and I don't just mean in standard medical care, but I mean you have your own private room and a fluffed up pillow. It's the kind of nice extras on top that is the bit you're paying for. It's not necessarily the treatment, because often you're using the same resources that if you are a private patient, you'll go down to the public hospital and get it'll be the same operating table and the same doctor. So what you're paying for isn't the same thing. You're not paying quite the same for, say, like the actual lung or something that you might be having transplanted into you. So doing a comparison of our private system and your private insurance, I'm not sure is possible in that sense. But 10% of people think it's worth it or can afford it.
But the question was my 85-year-old example, yeah? Could he, in principle, if there wasn't a nationalised healthcare system, which would kill him at the expense of the young kid, could he have afforded the whatever operation he was being offered? I mean, probably not, to be honest. When it comes down to, especially what old people pay for health insurance anyway, is very expensive because they are very high risk. So it's probably not analogous that they would definitely be saved. It wouldn't be they would be an average person. They'd have to be reasonably well off, I suppose, to afford that. Good question. Cheers.
So, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Would it be fair to say that, like, I guess for the main, I guess, like 75% of America that's like middle class or so, that you pretty much wouldn't really see. I mean, it's still percentage based, so you wouldn't really see that much of a change, I guess, in what you're paying out. Based, I mean, because like you said, the higher people are going to get taxed more, and middle probably about the same, and then lower like less.
I mean, if we were actually talking about America, there are so many things that could save Americans millions of dollars. Like having jury allocated damages, so being where doctors are spending millions on insurance against malpractice suits, is just taxpayer or healthcare money that might as well have been burned. Like advertising for advertising for drugs, like that's not only a complete waste of money. People like you and me should not be deciding our own healthcare choices. I wasn't trained as a doctor, a medical doctor. I don't know what the best treatment for me is, and I'm not more informed after Sally Field has told me that I should have whatever she's selling on the television. All of these things make it difficult to compare Britain and America, because in Britain every pound we spend on healthcare is spent on healthcare. Even, I mean, obviously there's some bureaucratic waste in there, and maybe inflated doctor salaries or inflated nurses' salaries, but it's all spent on healthcare. So I would imagine if you guys could just click your fingers and transfer to a completely nationalized system, you would see which somehow dealt with jury allocated damages. You would see huge savings for most people. Like Andrew's right, you guys spend more on secretaries than some developed countries spend on their entire healthcare infrastructure per person, and they get healthcare for that. You get secretaries. Like something is wrong in that world.
Definitely understood. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to ask a question of the audience, if you're willing to tell us. How many people in this room do not have health insurance? It's very troublesome, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I'm saying actually don't have it, yeah. But that's another good question, is that's part of the healthcare discussion right now, is maybe they'll keep young people on until age 25, which would help for a little bit, but once you get on your own, it's very expensive. Thank you very much. Thanks for your interest and your time, and thanks again to Andrew and to Dan.